We resume our look at the main battle in Girls and Panzer Der Film, with the most action-packed portion of the battle. This section of the battle lasts only 11 minutes or so, and yet so much happens it's incredible. As per usual, we'll first be taking a look at this portion of the battle from a story perspective, and then next time we'll do the more technical and tactical analysis. Don't worry, there'll be plenty to talk about there too. As is often the case, the storytelling taking place during the battle comes in two main forms. Character and story related stuff, of course, such as showing some character growth, but also the storytelling of how the animation, music, etc. plays this battle out for us. So without further ado, let's dive into the action. Obviously, spoilers are ahead for Der Film, but I expect that at this point anybody watching this is probably already a fan and has therefore seen the movie. So we pick up following the escape from the amphitheater, courtesy of Rabbit Team and of course the Ferris wheel. Most important, however, is the fact that at this point, pretty much all of the combatants are inside the amusement park, where the rest of the battle will take place. And the fighting is already moving further inward, to more claustrophobic, tight confines. This has been a steady progression throughout the battle. It began out on the open fields and hills, then it withdrew to the city, where the fighting took place around the entrances and in smaller, but still fairly open areas like the amphitheater. And now, as we near the climax, we withdraw further into the streets, and every obstacle, every bit of unusual terrain, will come into play, as this practically becomes a knife fight. And as we've mentioned before, this absolutely favors the Orai conglomerate team. Both because Orai itself has excelled in this type of fighting since Season 1, and since this kind of battleground naturally helps an overall weaker force even the odds a bit. It's also fair to say that this is the most crucial part of the battle. As of this point, 20 total tanks of the 60 that started the match have been eliminated. After these 11 minutes, only 5 of 40 will remain. In the first part of this portion of the battle, Orai is ascendant, finally really getting the better of the university team in something more than a single small engagement or skirmish. In just about 4 minutes of movie time, Orai takes out 9 enemy tanks with no losses, with everyone employing tactics they've learned over the course of the series thus far, as the team splits up into multiple small units, some of which were formed with a plan in mind, and others by convenience, carrying forward the theme of Orai elevating everybody else's senshiro. In particular, we have Duck Team joining forces with the Chiatan crew, continuing the thread from the first battle of their film, where Duck Team and Fukuda bonded and they opened her mind to new tactics. They're all sporting inflatable ducks on their tanks too. Elsewhere, Katyusha, still dealing with her unhappiness at having lost all of her usual teammates early on, finds herself kind of adopted by Leopon Team and Anteater Team, and they do good work together. And of course we can't forget Anzio up on the railroad tracks playing Spotter, the stealth MVP of the match. This action and all of the plans the various groups carry out aren't directly related to us. The show once again trusts its audience and shows rather than tells. The only time we get a specific plan named ahead of time is with Duck Team, and that's basically them just spouting out volleyball metaphors that most of us don't understand. It's some visual storytelling at its finest. We could easily tell, between what we see, the music, and occasionally bits of dialogue, that Orai, finally, has the upper hand and is making the university team look foolish and sweat a bit. And so for the first time we see Alice's sub-commanders voice frustration as they try to figure out what exactly is going wrong. And for a few moments, it looks like Orai could just win this battle handily. But almost as soon as it seems Orai finally has a real upper hand, and could just go on to win this thing, the tide of battle shifts once again, and over the next 4 minutes, they will lose 7 tanks, while only taking out the T-28 in exchange. Once more, the visuals and music do a ton of heavy lifting. We of course have Alice singing as the signal that the new offensive is ready to begin, but it's when the T-28 sheds its extra tracks to fit through the more inner gate to the amusement park that the soundtrack picks up and the tide really shifts. After a pair of successful ambushes inspired by Anzio's Operation Macaroni, one of Alice's sub-commanders outfoxes Hippo Team and takes them out, while Anzio's cover gets blown, and a Chaffee climbs up the roller coaster tracks to chase them down. And, of course, Alice finally enters the battle herself. Poor Chiatan and Duck Team are no match for her and her Centurion, and they become her first victims. But Orai's team isn't just going to let things fall apart without a fight, as we see Darjeeling and Naomi orchestrate an ambush to take out the T-28 at the cost of their own tank. It also includes a really nice moment as we are reminded just what we're really fighting for, and see how Darjeeling has internalized it. This style of fighting is very much not the St. Gloriana way, but as she says, they're here to win for Miho, not themselves. So it's a really heartfelt moment, showing the selflessness of those who came to help, and also the impact Miho and Orai have had on them that led them all to be willing to do this in the first place. But that moment is really the final bright spot for the team for a while, as the action ramps up and doesn't stop for the next few minutes. Rabbit Team manages to save Anzio and eliminate two Chaffies, but is then immediately taken out by Alice as her rampage continues. And the Saunders contingent of the Orai team, the only segment of it that hadn't lost a tank yet, is then taken out in moments by Alice's sub-commanders. Just basically reminding us, the audience, how much more skilled and coordinated the university team's top members really are. All of the careful coordination that allowed Orai to pull ahead minutes earlier is now lost completely, and we start to see them getting taken out one by one as the Orai tanks begin to retreat instead of attack, taking desperate measures like ramming to even just slow the enemy push. Turtle Team, Anteater Team, Mallard Team, the latter of whom have finally learned some rules are meant to be broken, as well as Anzio and Ukuriri and her Matilda are all knocked out. And all Orai manages in exchange is to take out one Pershing and one Chaffee. When we also have Rosehip going out in the most Rosehip way imaginable, by pushing her speed to the limit, jumping a canal, and taking out the final Chaffee before hitting a wall and knocking her own tank out. Also, it needs to be said just how perfect Anzio's elimination is from a comedic perspective. Just the timing, Anchovy's line just beforehand after they made it across the water, the dull clang as they're hit and flipped over, and the fact that we don't hear any reaction line from her or her crew afterward. This part of the battle concludes with Orai getting increasingly desperate and inelegant, as most of Orai's last heavy hitters attempt to stop the university's sub-commanders from regrouping with Alice. They manage to take one out, but are soundly beaten as Leopon Team, Katusha, and Erika are all eliminated, thus setting up the final battle. Miho and Maho against Alice, Azumi, and Megumi. 11 minutes, 35 tank knockouts, and each one on screen. I know I've said this before, and I probably will again, but I'm not sure I can name another battle scene of this scale in any visual medium where it both trusts the audience to be able to follow the action without a ton of dialogue, and shows us enough on screen that we could easily do so despite the sometimes breakneck pace. You could probably even keep track of what's going on and follow the ebbs and flows of the battle, determine who is winning and when things are going well for our heroines, even without the subtitles. But of course, there is more to discuss here, as this knife fight portion of the battle has quite a bit to talk about in a technical and tactical sense, before we can get to the final confrontation. So look forward to that next time. If you enjoyed this video and like to support me and what I do here, my books and light novels are all available on Amazon. And you can get early access to videos, sneak peeks, and updates on my upcoming manga and other projects by subscribing over on Patreon. I also offer channel memberships, which get you access to monthly members-only watch-along streams. And as always, if you have any thoughts on this video or is anything Girls und Panzer related you'd like me to talk about, definitely share them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear them, and while I might not get to respond to every comment, at least not in a timely manner, I can guarantee that I read each of them. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.